This story is called My Husband Cheated on Me. Ever since I found out he's been acting different, by user HorrorJunkie123 on Reddit. The narration, animation, and music for this video was done by me. A link to the full story is in the description. Justin and I had been together for 10 years, married for 6. I'd been with him my whole adult life. We'd been dating since I was 17 and he was 18. I always thought he was my soulmate, the man I wanted to grow old with. Turns out, I was wrong. I was devastated when I found out. Yes, Justin had been staying out later than usual, and his explanations were usually flimsy at best. I'm not stupid. I had my suspicions, but I honestly think that I really just didn't want to come to terms with the fact that my husband was seeing another woman. Honestly, I might have gone years without discovering the truth, but Justin got sloppy. Welcome home, honey. Fun night out with the guys after work again? Uh-huh, Justin grumbled, brushing past me. I made dinner if you're hungry. Beef tips and rice. I know it's one of your favorites. Ate at the bar. I'm going up to bed, he muttered, studying himself against the wall before woozily clomping up the stairs. My heart sank. Nights like those were becoming more and more frequent. I loved my husband. All I wanted was to spend a little quality time with him after a long day at work, but he couldn't even spare me a few minutes. I glanced up at him as he lumbered up the steps, a tear trickling down my cheek. In an instant, all my sadness that I felt was replaced with burning rage. Because when Justin passed underneath the overhead light, I saw what appeared to be a hickey on the side of his neck. A cocktail of emotions swirled within me: despair, resentment, betrayal. They all hit me like a ton of bricks. I was stunned. I didn't know what to do. I mean, who would? The man I had been head over heels for all that time had stabbed me in the back. I was in disbelief. I stumbled into the kitchen, pulling out a chair before I could collapse. I stared into space, trying to make sense of what I'd seen. I sat there for a long time, deep in thought. After a while, I felt numb, like my whole personality had been flushed down the drain, leaving nothing but an empty husk. Then a thought flashed across my mind. I'd been mistaken. That had to be it. Just a mere trick of the light. It was pretty dimly lit in the hallway after all. Whatever the case, I had to know. I tiptoed upstairs, abandoning my dinner. I crept to our room as quiet as a church mouse before lightly pushing open the bedroom door. Justin was already fast asleep. I didn't waste any time. I rushed across the room, careful to avoid any squeaky floorboards, and I inspected Justin's neck. His snores grew louder as I approached. He always was a heavy sleeper. I cursed when I got a closer look. Justin was sleeping on his side, and I was not going to try to roll him over. I glanced around, searching for anything that might provide concrete evidence. My eyes fell on the bedside table. Bingo. I snatched up Justin's phone from his charger. I held my breath as I pressed his meaty thumb onto the screen to unlock it. I grinned, feeling a rush of exhilaration as I achieved my goal. What? I froze. Justin groggily opened his eyes a sliver as my hand hovered over him. My blood turned to ice, and I prayed with all my might that my husband might just go back to sleep. To my immense shock, my prayers were answered. Justin mumbled incoherently under his breath before grabbing a fistful of covers and nodding off. I'd escaped by the skin of my teeth. I had to be more careful. The first thing I did was check Justin's texts. I immediately saw a woman's name I didn't recognize. My heart shattered when I read the messages.
Hey baby, last night was incredible. See you again after work today?
You're damn right. I wish you never had to leave.
What about the wife of yours though? Won't she get suspicious?
Her? Not a chance. Even if she does find out, she won't leave. I could murder a baby in front of her and she'd still think I was a saint.
A deep-seated rage bubbled within me. Did Justin really think that little of me? He clearly saw me as nothing more than a spineless, codependent pushover. Well, I'd show him. I screenshotted the evidence, scrolling through dozens of nude photos that I hadn't taken, and sent them everything to my number. I deleted any proof of my snooping, then replaced Justin's phone on the charger. I stormed out of the room, grabbing my keys as I went. I made it halfway across the living room when the realization hit me. I had nowhere to go. All my family lived 7 hours away, and it was too late to book a decent hotel, and I didn't want to drag any of my friends into the drama. Not yet, at least. That left me with one option. I had to sleep on the couch. I plopped down onto the sofa and sighed. I didn't want to have to confront it, but I knew what I had to do. In the morning, I was going to find a lawyer and start the divorce process. The thought alone was enough to break me. No matter how hard I tried, I couldn't hold my tears back any longer. I cried like a baby, silently sobbing into a scratchy pillow for what must have been hours. My eyes were puffy by the time I was done. I couldn't fathom falling asleep in a state like that, but I must have at some point, because the next thing I remember, sunlight was flooding through the blinds. "Morning, babe, how'd you..." The rest of the sentence caught in my throat. That was right. Justin and I are about to be over. I grabbed my phone from the coffee table, tears stinging the corners of my vision. I opened up the messages I sent to myself as proof and hoped that the last 12 hours had been some twisted nightmare. But the messages were gone. My eyes grew wide as I stared at the screen. That couldn't be right. They'd been there, clear as day the night before. Something wasn't adding up. I suddenly paused, bolting upright. Was that breakfast? The tantalizing aroma of eggs and bacon wafted around the corner of the kitchen. My brows furrowed. Justin never cooked. My breathing was shallow as I tentatively shuffled into the kitchen. Curiosity gnawed at me like a piranha. I apprehensively peeked around the corner, unsure of what I would find. To my shock, there was my husband, humming a little tune while flipping pancakes. I rubbed my eyes. Was I seeing things? Oh my gosh, surely I was delusional from lack of sleep. That had to be it. Then Justin turned, his icy blue eyes locking onto mine.
"Morning, princess. I hope you're hungry. I saw you sleeping on the couch and I thought you might not be feeling well. So I decided to make you a hot meal to help you get better."
My heart skipped a beat. Was this really my husband? It looked like him. It sounded like him. Still, I was weary. Yeah, just feeling a little under the weather is all. How are you feeling? You're acting, different.
"Never been better, honestly. I think I've turned a new leaf,"
he said, placing a steaming plate before me.
"The old Justin is kaput. From now on, I swear I'm going to be the best husband I can be."
Our gazes connected, and I searched his expression for answers. He seemed genuine. If this was an act, it was a damn good one. "Thanks, babe. That makes me really happy to hear." Justin beamed at me, the warmth of his smile seeping into my heart. It had been years since he looked at me like that.
"Well, get used to it because I'm keeping my word. I love you, Lydia."
I wanted to be suspicious. I wanted to remain silent. I wanted to keep my guard up, but how could I? All I needed was love and attention, and I was finally getting it. For the first time in a long time, it felt like my husband actually cared. "I love you too, Justin," I muttered before digging into my meal. A big part of me was still leery of my husband. His timing was pretty convenient after all. But even with all my doubts, Justin was seemingly sticking to his promise. He took me out on dates, and paid to get my nails done, bought me flowers. He even started shouldering most of the housework. Needless to say, I was impressed. If he would have kept that up, I might have never suspected a thing. But one night, he slipped up. We were cuddled up on the couch watching The Truman Show when I asked, "Hey, babe?"
Yes, my love?
Justin asked, his eyes still glued to the screen. If someone close to you was an imposter, like a perfect replica except for a few tiny changes, do you think you'd notice? Justin tensed up, his eyes wide as he slowly turned to face me. A blank stare had overtaken his expression. A chill rippled through my body when he looked at me like that. He was beginning to frighten me.
I suppose so. Why do you ask?
His voice was monotone, dripping with a tinge of urgency. I didn't know how to process his sudden shift in personality. It's the premise of the movie we're watching. I watched as the color seeped back into his face and he loosened up, breathing a sigh of relief. Why was he acting so strange? We sat there in uncomfortable silence, shifting our attention back to the TV screen. After a few more tense moments, I couldn't take it anymore. Hey, I've got to use the restroom and charge my phone. I'll be right back. No need to pause the movie for me. Justin nodded before grinning up at me. His smile. Had his teeth always been that straight?
Okay, baby girl. Hurry back. Wouldn't want your spot to get cold.
Sure thing. I practically bolted up the stairs. Locking myself in our room, I slumped against the door, trying to steady my palpitating heart. What was going on? Was it just me, or was that some seriously freaky behavior? Either way, I needed a second to calm down. I had my eyes shut, focusing on my breathing when I heard it. My phone was buzzing from inside my pocket. I hurriedly retrieved it, glancing at the screen. Unknown number. I normally don't answer calls from strangers, but something compelled me. Maybe it was intuition, or perhaps I just wanted someone to talk to other than my husband. In the end, I accepted the call. Hello?
Lydia? Lydia Atkins?
Speaking?
Look, I know this is gonna sound crazy, but I need you to hear what I have to say.
Okay. I suddenly jolted up from my spot on the floor and stared at the locked door separating me from the hallway. Loud knocks rattled it in its frame.
Lydia! Lydia, who are you speaking to?
Panic surged through me as I scrambled for an answer. It's my mom. Go back downstairs. I'll be down in a minute.
That was him, wasn't it?
The caller said. That was my husband, yes. Why do you ask? I whispered, putting as much distance between myself and the door as possible.
Lydia, I need you to hear me out. Can you promise that you will?
The pounding on the opposite side of the room grew even louder.
Lydia, don't listen to her. She's a fucking liar.
How did he know? I'm listening. I'll hear what you have to say. The woman at the end of the line breathed an audible sigh of relief.
Okay, my name is Adeline, and Justin and I have been seeing each other for about 9 months. That man in your house is not your husband.
My blood turned to ice, and I began to tremble. No, that can't be true. In a shaky voice, I asked the question that will haunt me until I die. How do I know you're telling the truth? There was a long pause, the bangs outside my door reaching a nauseating crescendo. When Adeline answered, I knew without a shadow of a doubt that I was in serious danger.
Lydia, for the past week, Justin has been living with me.